Amy, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Fine? Okay. Thanks so much for bringing all your energy to this event, and thank you for the students for bringing all of your inspiration to the event as well. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Dick Allen. He is Connecticut State Poet Laureate and a major figure in contemporary American poetry. The kind of following standard form, I'm going to maybe give a brief sampling of his many, many accolades, but then I also want to move and maybe say something a little bit closer to the heart or closer to the bone. So a few notes from the Poetry Foundation's biographical notes on Dick Allen. Dick Allen has received poetry writing fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Ingram Merrill Foundation, as well as a Robert Frost Prize for Poetry, the Hart Crane Poetry Prize, Poetry's Union Arts and Civic League Poetry Prize, and many other awards. His poems have been selected for the Best American Poetry Volumes 1991, 1994, 1998, 1999. He's published poems in America's leading journals: Poetry, The Atlantic Monthly, The New Republic, The New Yorker, The Hudson Review, The Massachusetts Review, American Poetry Review, Yale Review, etc., etc. A noted speaker, John Ciardi, once called him the best reader of poetry in America, next to John Ciardi. He has presented lectures, talks, and readings throughout the United States. And his reading in the famous Hillstead Sunken Garden series drew over 3,000 listeners. And if you haven't been to that series, the Sunken Garden series in Farmington, it's a wonderful series. And I think he'll be reading again this summer, is that correct? With Elizabeth Thomas, who is also in the audience. Yay, Elizabeth. Okay. In addition to poetry, Allen also is known as a scholar and enthusiast of science fiction. He's edited a number of very popular science fiction anthologies. Okay, moving from the well-deserved list of kudos, I just want to say something about the poetry, which in turn probably says something about the man and why we thought Mr. Allen would be a great honored guest at an event that's reason for being is to celebrate student work. Mr. Allen is known as a leader of what has been called the expansive poetry movement. His poems, rather than merely confessing or getting tangled up in self, look outward, and look outward everywhere. The El Salvadoran poet Roque Dalton once wrote that everything that fits into life fits into poetry. And I really can't think of a better exemplar in a body of work for that maxim than Dick Allen's poems. As you'll see, his poems bring us through physics and metaphysics and history, but they look at our ordinary lives. And they look at our ordinary lives in a beautiful way because looking through the lens of his poems, you see that our ordinary lives are really extraordinary. So they're a treat. So this way of seeing, of hooking up the self in all kinds of ways to the big world, and being insatiably curious might have something to do with his long distinguished career, too, as a teacher at the University of Bridgeport. His poems are intensely interested in and highly respectful of us, and I really think that they earn that interest and that respect in return. So please welcome Dick Allen.
It's a great honor to be here at an awards ceremony. I'm recalling that when I started writing poetry seriously, the awards that I got as an undergraduate meant a tremendous amount to me and furthered my writing. Thank you, John, for that very generous introduction. And it's good to be in Willimantic. I love the word Willimantic. I love saying Willimantic. And in fact, about 3 days ago, when I was preparing for this reading, it suddenly occurred to me that I actually wrote a poem about Willimantic. So I pulled the poem out. It hasn't been published yet, but I hope it will someday, so it's not in a book. But I bought a few copies of it. The origin of this poem was that I was accompanying my daughter to a painting exhibit in Reading, Connecticut. And we went to the painting exhibit, and there, along with her friends' paintings, was a collection of photographs bound into a book. And the photographs were what you will see in this poem, which exists to talk about the photographs and exists to talk about things that we don't normally see, and to give me a chance to say Willimantic about 5 more times. This is called The Spruces of Willimantic, Connecticut. And what I'm referring to is actually true. A photographer in Willimantic, Connecticut has taken pictures of every spruce tree in Willimantic, Connecticut. All 2,183 spruce trees, and bound his pictures in a number of books, so that everyone in Willimantic, Connecticut can see, without having to move from a chair, all 2,183 spruce trees in Willimantic, Connecticut. The big spruces, the small spruces, the medium-sized spruces that live beside the clapboard houses in Willimantic, Connecticut, in backyards near the clotheslines, down the side streets, above the parked cars, the scrawny spruces, the blousy spruces, the spruces in a row to make a fence, and spruces just barely hanging in there, just barely getting by, just barely making it in Willimantic, Connecticut, near the Willimantic River. Spruces no one ever really noticed before, each a slightly different shape and different height in Willimantic, Connecticut, home of the Boombox Parade, the American Thread Factory, the Battle of Frog Pond, gray-haired Senator Dodd, spruces in abandoned cars, spruces looming over trailers and over sheds and gas station pumps, unairbrushed, unphotoshopped, photographs with every telephone pole wire left in, every electrical line, cable, abandoned rooftop TV antenna, the gray or light blue skies in early spring, the scraps of winter snow, and not a single human being of Willimantic, Connecticut in any picture. Not even a human shadow. Only the spruces. 2,183 spruces of Willimantic, Connecticut. A photographer 1 year made pictures of. I don't know if you've ever seen a spruce in Willimantic, Connecticut.